Love this podcast? Support this show through the Acast supporter feature. It's up to you how much you give, and there's no regular commitment. Just click the link in the show description to support now.
The following podcast is a Vasilis Skarlias production.
Hello everyone, I'm Saloni.
And I'm Vasilis.
We run Changemakers, a student-run initiative that aims to empower, educate, and connect Gen Zers interested in entrepreneurship.
We interview teenagers with impactful projects and create resources to help you change the world. If they can do it, so can you.
On this podcast, we discuss the logistics of creating different types of projects with Gen Zers who have already done it. We will leave our social media and website information in the description.
Welcome to the last episode of Gen Zers to Ride podcast for season 1. Here with us today, we have two special guests, the CEOs of Rayze Consulting, Rayyan, Ahmed, and Sahil Vuna. It's our honor to have you on this amazing episode. Rayze Consulting is a Gen Z consulting company that helps brands to think of new ideas, craft marketing campaigns, and learn more to connect with Generation Z. Their motto, spread with Gen Z. Welcome, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on.
All right, so tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So me and Sahil are both 16 years old. We live in northern New Jersey. We're really close to New York, actually. It's like a 20, 30-minute drive without traffic. We both go to the same school. That's kind of like how we met. And we started this company, like this current company, back in like August. And it's been really cool being able to work with all these like brands and kind of like meeting all these new people. So, yeah.
This is awesome. What inspired you to create Rayze Consulting?
Yeah, so I think really like being able to like help businesses, right? So Ryan and I, in school, we both met because we have a similar interest in business, and really like we've seen a lot of these businesses struggle. We focus, we've seen like a lot of small businesses struggle through the pandemic, and we wanted to figure out how can we as 16-year-olds be able to help businesses, right, through our knowledge. And we thought, we're part of this unique generation called Gen Z, right? And many of these other businesses, they have many like older adults that aren't really equipped with, Gen Z, or like they don't really know about Gen Z that well. So we were like, okay, well, as we're part of Gen Z, why don't we help businesses with our knowledge? So it's kind of like our inspiration, I guess, is kind of just seeing some of the difficulties that businesses were facing and like kind of like taking up or being able to like help them through our knowledge.
Awesome. Growing up, did you always have a business-oriented mindset?
I kind of. I think I kind of did like the basic things that like a lot of kids do, kind of like the lemonade stand and selling t-shirts and stuff like that. And I guess in a way, it was. I didn't always know that I wanted to go into business, but I did like these small side businesses just to get into it. So I think, yeah, in a way.
I mean. For me, I guess like in India, a lot of my relatives like have like businesses there. So like, I've seen like how those work and stuff like that. I didn't really have like, okay, I want to be like, a CEO of a company, when I was like 5 or 6 years old. But, like Ryan, I've been doing like small things. Like, for example, I'm a Boy Scout, right? So I do a lot of fundraisers for that, etc. But really like, I didn't have anything in mind, like, being like a CEO of like a business, at like a young age.
Mm-hmm. I think it's so funny, all these little companies that we start. Like when I was like 10 or something, I would like force my family to like give them like foot baths and stuff in this little spa that I had. It was cringy and like, but I feel like we all can relate to these like little businesses that we started when we were younger. But yeah, like why do you think it's important for businesses to market to Gen Z?
Yeah, so I mean, this is a really good question. I think the biggest thing is, I mean, Gen Z is the next generation, right? Like why, like there's so many Gen Zers. There's like a statistic. There's like, I don't remember the exact number, but I know there's a large amount of Gen Zers all over the world. And if you kind of decide like, hey, I got to ignore them, you're missing out on a huge segment. And if your competitors do, or like other people that are like in your industry, they start to market to them and they start to like connect, you're missing out and you're going to fall behind. Like it's like you're basically missing a large segment. And we've in like past like companies have we've already seen this happen with millennials, right? Like companies have forgotten like, hey, maybe let's ignore millennials, or let's let's maybe just keep marketing to baby boomers, right? And it didn't work out. A lot of companies you've seen over the last 10 years have just shut down just because they haven't been able to adapt. And that's going to continue to happen if people don't adapt to marketing to Gen Z.
I mean, we've seen, big companies like Nike, Adidas, all these companies following with these celebrities basketball stars, athletes, celebrities, everyone the main reason they do these is so that they can, attract Gen Z and all these demographics. And, if other competitors of these big companies with Nike, et cetera, if they want to catch up to par, or not even just the sports industry, right? In any industry, if you want to catch up, or you have to create, or you have to tap into a huge of that target market, right? So in order to do that, Gen Z is a very big portion of that total market. So definitely we think, Gen Z marketing is something very important for any business.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that, how do you find clients?
Yeah, honestly, when we first started, and I think even now to some extent, we do a lot of cold email and cold contacting, right? Either on LinkedIn or just emailing people. We'll get their contact from somewhere, and we'll say hey, we'll do a short pitch in the email. Say hey, this is who we are, this is who we work with, this is what we do, and this is where we think we can help. So most of it's just kind of been emailing. Since then, we've kind of had some connections, some referrals. People have said hey, these guys are great, and so and for now it's been a mix of referrals and cold contacting.
I see. Your business type is different than the usuals, since your product is combination between proposals and advices. So how do you set your prices?
Yeah, that really depends, because sometimes when we help companies are very established, but they might have some small problem that we come in, or we have a startup that needs a lot of help, right? So it really depends. For example, if we have a company that needs a very small marketing strategy, maybe 1 or 2 months, that may cost less than another company that wants to do a lot more different unique marketing strategies that could be up to 6 to even 9 months or even more, right? So it really depends. It also depends on what stage they are as a company. So if they're a startup, we try to help them because we were saying before how our inspiration was to help businesses and stuff. But if it's some very established company and we see that it takes a lot more work and time, then we would usually charge more. But it really depends. But yeah, again, it depends on how difficult or how complex that the marketing strategies are, and how hard it could be to implement them.
Yeah, we're still learning, right? We experimented in the start, hey, would this price work? Would that price work? What is the kind of the optimal pricing? And if we find out hey, maybe we should charge higher, maybe we should charge lower, we're still open to change, right? It's just we're learning on the way for the pricing, because as you said, there's not a lot of Gen Z agencies out there, so the pricing point you can't really take it from someone else, I guess. So yeah, we've been experimenting a lot.
Yeah. And I love that you say that. I love the way that you kind of set your prizes and stuff, just kind of based on experiments and experience, because I feel we can tend to undervalue ourselves. And that's especially when you're working with these more established companies. So yeah. And speaking of, how are you balancing this with schoolwork and extracurriculars? Is this the only thing you do? Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, it is tough, right? Definitely, as sophomores in high school, it is tough, balancing work with all the other things that we're doing, right? At least for me, I'm part of robotics. I'm a Boy Scout, obviously, which takes a lot of effort and time. I do a lot of volunteering, all these things, and I think one of the biggest things for me that's helped me is just really just managing my time, right? So I try to finish my schoolwork, right, and stuff like that, and make sure that I spend at least 1 to 2 hours per day for Rayze, or even more depending on how it is. But really what I try to do best is time management, making sure I have a schedule or a list of some things that I need to do for today and try to get them done as soon as possible. But really you do bring up a good point of how, if high school students want to start something up, it's a really big time commitment. So yeah, definitely I think just time management is the key here. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a small business, and the company yours, most of your clients will inevitably be much older than you. I mean, has it been challenging to be taken seriously with these more established companies?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think it really depends on like the client's attitude when they come in. Some people are really serious, right? They really want to learn about us, and whatever kind of we say, they'll take it into serious consideration. Others we've seen that like they've kind of like been like iffy on the product. They say like, "Hey, should we go with them? Should we not?" And it's kind of like it's again tough sometimes because at that point like you kind of have to like prove yourself to them, and it's not always great to do that. But um, I mean, most of the time, I think we have been taken seriously, and I think to those that we like people that haven't really thought like we're serious, we kind of proved ourselves to them. So I think now they do think we are.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be a difficult task sometimes. What's the most rewarding part about Rayze Consulting?
I think for me, like the two main things like rewarding for me is one, just having like a big like family, right? Like Rayze Consulting, we have like around 40 plus like people in our organization. So it's really just like a big family of like Gen Z members. And then one of the other things is just like being able to like talk to these businesses and like the owners or like the CEOs or someone in the business and like seeing their struggles and like things that they need help in. I think like that's really rewarding because like you can see from like as a high schooler, right? Like you can see like, okay, these businesses are struggling here and you can just learn a lot from it. And, you know, like just being able to like learn from those businesses, seeing what their tasks, like what's wrong, right? And like being able to help them. I think that's just the rewarding part, like being satisfied, like helping like businesses with their struggles.
Yeah, and like being able to go to like completely different companies, right? Like seeing like kind of resetting every time and seeing like, hey, maybe this company's way different from the last company we work with. So you got to like kind of go into many different industries. You get to see like, hey, maybe like after college or maybe whenever I'm interested in this field, right? Or I'm interested in that field. So you get like real life experience working with these professionals in these fields. And yeah, I mean, like kind of like Sahil said, it's like a family at our organization. Like we get to like, we've gotten to meet like some people that we would have never met otherwise. And it's honestly been a really great experience.
That is so amazing. And I kind of wanted to ask like more about the actual company. You said there's like 40 people in there. Is it mostly online or are you guys together?
Yeah, it's mostly, I think, a mix. Me and Sahil, we do have like a couple of people that we know in person. We do meet up sometimes, but I think most of our people are fully virtual, fully online for now. We started during COVID-19, so we really it didn't really make sense to have a office space kind of like where all of us can meet. And that's kind of helped us in a way. Like we've gotten to have people from like all over the world. Have gotten people from like Europe, Asia, and then most of our people from America. But yeah, right now we're fully virtual.
Right. And like, so how are you managing that?
And how do you conduct research about Gen Z?
I can start with the first question, I guess. How do we conduct research? So we have a couple of ways. I think like most common is probably like focus groups. We from time to time will do focus groups with different people. We do actually have like something in the works, like of like a place we can like send surveys, and I think Sahil can tell you more about that. But like for now, it's mostly been like focus groups or just researching online. There's so much stuff online with like different database sources that we kind of like we'll kind of like compile those sources together and come up with like one report, two reports, or whatever on like what is Gen Z consumer trends.
Yeah, and with the community that Rayyan was mentioning, we're actually like building up a community with like a couple hundred plus like Gen Z members, like, you know, where we can send them surveys, conduct focus groups more in depth, etc. So really like we use like traditional research, you know, kind of ideas, but like focus them more on Gen Z through like our connections, our friends, etc.
And to answer the second question, it's been a like the way we manage people has kind of been we do it through multiple platforms. Our communication has mostly been through Discord because we've seen that it's like a popular platform among Gen Zers. It's easy to use, easy to learn if you haven't used it before. So we've used that a lot. For organization, we use Google Drive or Notion. We have like a Notion page where all of our docs are there, so everyone can navigate really easily. Otherwise, I think that's mostly it. I mean, we've used external software from time to time, depending on like what the project ask is, what we really need to do. But I mean, Discord, Google Drive, and Notion are probably our three main things that we use.
All right. And I kind of wanted to talk about, you have an Instagram like just for Gen Z. Well, yeah, like you have like job listings and internships. So like along with like Gen Z facts and like Netflix hacks, like why do you think it's important to post about social issues, like social justice issues as well? And like, why do you guys include these topics along with that?
We wanted to post about stuff that was kind of important to Gen Z. So we kind of split it into different sections. And if you saw like our reels, you're kind of more focused on like enjoyment or like something like interesting to talk about, like social issues or something like that. Our posts are more like current events. What is going on right now, right? Like, not everyone's always, not everyone always looks at the news. Like, they don't always turn on CNN or whatever. A lot of people get their news from like Instagram, or they get like information on certain topics from Instagram. So I guess like the other side is we kind of really want to provide information so people can like understand and can get to know more info. Like, so they're not kind of like uneducated about a certain topic.
I think that this is for today's episode. We learned a bunch of great information about consulting businesses and especially about Gen Z oriented companies. We would like to thank one more time Rayyan and Sahil for being with us today.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much for having us on.
The season 2 of Gen Z to Rise podcast is coming out in July 2021, so stay tuned. For now, go and listen to our previous episode with YouTuber Max Rayzinger and YouTube artist Gogs. Until next time, keep changing the world, guys.
We hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. We had such a great time. Make sure you leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram at changemaker.c to keep up with all of our new content. We also have a Facebook page called ChangemakerZ, but you'll need to look that one, because I honestly don't even know how Facebook works.